The alert came during the night cycle of the Galactic Council's monitoring station. Red lights flashed across the curved walls as millions of data streams suddenly flatlined. The chief monitor, an alien named Blue, stared at his screens with all four of his eyes widening in disbelief. "Sir, we've lost all signals from Earth sector," his assistant called out, tentacles dancing across the holographic controls. "Everything. Radio waves, television broadcasts, internet traffic. It's all gone quiet." Blue felt a chill run through his spine. Earth was never quiet. For over a century, the planet had been the noisiest in the galaxy, constantly broadcasting its presence into space with an endless stream of electromagnetic signals. The humans never seemed to care who might be listening. He remembered his first assignment, 50 years ago, when he was just a junior monitor. His job had been to catalog Earth's entertainment broadcasts. The sheer volume of content had overwhelmed their systems. Movies, television shows, music, and something called cat videos. The humans never stopped creating, never stopped broadcasting. "Check the backup systems," Blue ordered, his voice steady despite his growing unease. "Run a full diagnostic on our receivers." The minutes ticked by as his team worked. One by one, the reports came back. All systems were functioning normally. The silence wasn't a malfunction. Earth had simply stopped transmitting. Blue reached for the emergency communicator. This was beyond his authority now. The council needed to know. Within hours, the council chamber was filled with representatives from across the galaxy. The Grand Speaker, a tall figure with crystalline skin, called the emergency session to order. "What do we know?" she asked, her voice resonating through the chamber. Admiral White, head of the defense fleet, stepped forward. His metallic scales gleamed under the chamber's lights. "The quarantine satellites around Sol system are still active. No ships have entered or left the system. But all electromagnetic emissions from Earth ceased exactly 6 hours ago." A murmur ran through the assembled representatives. Earth had been under quarantine for decades, classified as a pre-contact civilization. Despite their rapid technological advancement, the policy had been controversial, but necessary. Human technology had been developing at an alarming rate. "Show us the last recorded signals," the Grand Speaker commanded. The chamber's central hologram came to life, displaying Earth's final broadcasts. News programs, social media feeds, and entertainment channels flickered across the display. Everything seemed normal, right until the moment it all stopped. "Perhaps they destroyed themselves," suggested one representative. "Their weapons were certainly capable of it." Admiral White shook his head. "No signs of nuclear exchange or major conflicts. The planet's biosphere readings remain stable. They're still there. They've just gone quiet." The Grand Speaker's crystalline form sparkled as she processed this information. "Review the archives. What were their latest technological developments?" A series of images appeared in the hologram. Quantum computing breakthroughs, artificial intelligence advancements, strange experiments with consciousness transfer, each development more worrying than the last. "We should have intervened years ago," muttered a representative from the Science Council. "Their progress was too fast, too reckless." The Grand Speaker raised a hand for silence. "What we should have done no longer matters. What matters is what we do now." Admiral White, prepare an investigation fleet. We need to know what happened on Earth. As the council chamber erupted in debate, Blue stood quietly in the observer section, watching the proceedings. He thought about all those Earth broadcasts he'd monitored over the years. The stories humans told about themselves, their dreams of reaching the stars, their constant push against their own limitations. Maybe, he thought, they'd finally pushed too far. Or maybe, whispered a darker part of his mind, they'd finally pushed far enough. The investigation fleet would launch within days. But as Blue looked around the chamber at the worried faces of the galaxy's most powerful beings, he couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't dealing with a tragedy. They were witnessing the beginning of something much bigger and much more frightening. Earth had gone quiet, and somehow That silence was louder than all their broadcasts had ever been. The investigation fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. 5 massive ships, each carrying the best scientists and soldiers the Galactic Council could gather. Admiral White stood on the bridge of the flagship, his metallic scales reflecting the distant light of Earth's sun. "Status report," he commanded. "All ships reporting normal, Admiral," his first officer replied. "Earth's solar monitoring satellites are still active but automated. No response to our presence." The fleet moved slowly through the system, passing the gas giants and their moons. Every sensor was active, searching for any sign of human activity. They found nothing but empty space stations and dormant satellites. "Sir," called out the sensor officer, "we're detecting unusual energy readings from Earth's moon base. It's different from their normal technology." Admiral White leaned forward. "Different how?" "The energy signature doesn't match anything in our database. It's as if they've developed something completely new." The fleet approached Earth's orbit carefully. The planet below looked peaceful: blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown continents. But something was wrong. The orbital lanes, once crowded with satellites, were eerily organized. All the space junk that had concerned the Council for decades was gone. "Launch the probes," Admiral White ordered. Small, unmanned vessels detached from each ship, descending toward Earth's atmosphere. The bridge crew watched in stunned silence as, one by one, the probes simply disappeared. No explosions, no warnings. They simply ceased to exist the moment they crossed an invisible barrier around the planet. "Pull back to the International Space Station," Admiral White commanded. "We'll start our investigation there." The ISS had been humanity's pride, their first permanent home among the stars. Now it hung silent in orbit, its solar panels gleaming in the sunlight. A boarding team was assembled, led by Fleet Commander Tom Reed, the only human-looking member of the crew, though his species had diverged from Earth's humans millions of years ago. "Remember," Tom briefed his team, "we don't know what we're walking into. Full environmental suits, no assumptions." They docked with the station successfully. The airlock cycled normally. But when they entered, they found something impossible. The interior of the ISS had been transformed. Gone were the cramped compartments and floating cables. Instead, they found smooth, organic-looking corridors that seemed to shift and pulse with an inner light. "This isn't human technology," whispered one of the science officers. "This is beyond anything they should be capable of." They moved deeper into the station, their helmet lights casting strange shadows. In what used to be the main laboratory, they found something that made them stop in their tracks. A sphere of swirling energy hung in the center of the room, about 2 meters in diameter. It emitted no radiation, no heat, but somehow it felt alive. Tom raised his scanner. "Sir, you need to see this. The energy patterns, they match human brainwave frequencies, but they're operating at a quantum level." Before Admiral White could respond, the sphere pulsed. Every piece of equipment the team carried suddenly activated, displays showing impossible readings. And then they heard it, not through their comms, but directly in their minds. "We were wondering when you'd come to check on us." The voice was neither male nor female, young nor old. It felt like millions of voices speaking as one. "Emergency protocol." Admiral White's voice cracked through the comms. "All teams, return to ships immediately." But as the boarding team turned to flee, they realized something terrible. The organic corridors had sealed behind them, and the sphere was growing larger. The last transmission from Tom Reed was calm, almost amused. "Admiral, I don't think we're dealing with humans anymore. They've become..." The transmission cut off, and in orbit above Earth, the investigation fleet watched helplessly as the International Space Station transformed into something that defied explanation. A structure that seemed to exist in more dimensions than space should allow. The Grand Council's archive chamber hadn't been opened in over 1,000 years. Deep beneath the crystalline spires of the Council headquarters, ancient records held the galaxy's darkest secrets. Now, as Admiral White followed the Grand Speaker through the dusty corridors, he couldn't shake the feeling that one of those secrets was about to change everything. "We should have seen this coming," the Grand Speaker said, her crystalline form dimming with what seemed like regret. The signs were there from the beginning. They reached a sealed vault, its surface covered in warning symbols from a dozen extinct civilizations. The Grand Speaker pressed her hand against it, and the door dissolved. Inside, a single data crystal floated in a containment field. Its surface was cracked and worn, but it still pulsed with a faint blue light. "This," the Grand Speaker said, "is the first warning, left by the Watchers who first discovered Earth, over 50,000 years ago." She lifted the crystal and inserted it into a reader. The chamber filled with holographic images, ancient Earth, primitive humans, and something else. Measurements, brain wave patterns, quantum field analyses. "The Watchers saw something in humanity that terrified them," she continued. "A potential that no other species possessed. The ability to evolve not just their bodies, but their consciousness itself." Admiral White watched as the hologram showed human brain activity patterns changing over millennia. "But we've studied human biology extensively. There was nothing unusual." "Nothing unusual in their physical form," the Grand Speaker interrupted. "But look deeper." The display shifted, showing quantum-level scans. In most species, consciousness was a simple pattern of electrical signals. But in humans, there was something more. A complex quantum field that shouldn't have been possible in organic brains. Their consciousness never operated by normal rules, the Grand Speaker explained. Every human mind was already partially quantum entangled with every other human mind. They just didn't know it yet. New images appeared. Modern humans using computers, developing artificial intelligence, exploring virtual reality. With each technological leap, the quantum patterns in their brains grew stronger. The internet wasn't just a communication network, Admiral White realized, his scales rippling with shock. It was a practice run, the Grand Speaker finished. Their technology wasn't advancing them. It was awakening them. She waved her hand, and the hologram showed recent scans from Earth. The quantum fields had grown exponentially, encompassing the entire planet in a complex web of consciousness. "They didn't die out or destroy themselves," she said quietly. "They completed their evolution. Every human mind has joined into a quantum consciousness network that exists beyond physical space. What we saw on the space station wasn't technology. It was a window into their new form of existence." Admiral White thought about the sphere they'd encountered, the voice that spoke directly into their minds. Are they still individual beings? Both individual and unified, we think, like different thoughts within a single vast mind. The Grand Speaker's crystalline form pulsed with worried light. "But that's not what terrifies me, Admiral." She brought up one final image, a map of the galaxy, with Earth at its center. Spreading outward from Earth were waves of quantum disturbance, subtle but growing stronger. "Their transformation is creating ripples in the quantum fabric of space itself," she said. "And those ripples are changing everything they touch. Other species are starting to show similar patterns. The evolution is spreading." Admiral White felt his scales turn cold. "We have to stop it." The Grand Speaker shook her head. "Stop it, Admiral. We're already part of it. Those ripples have reached every corner of the galaxy. The only question now is, what happens when the rest of us start to change too?" In the hologram, the ripples continue to spread, invisible waves of change washing over countless worlds. And somewhere, in the quantum spaces between realities, humanity waited, no longer bound by flesh and bone, no longer limited by physical laws. They had become something new, something that existed in the spaces between atoms, in the quantum foam of reality itself. And they were reaching out to the rest of the galaxy, one consciousness at a time. The emergency alerts started coming in from all corners of the galaxy. First from Mars Colony, then from Alpha Centauri, and soon from every human settlement in known space. One by one, they went silent, just like Earth. In the Council's main chamber, the holographic display showed dozens of worlds blinking out of regular communication. Admiral White watched with his fellow council members as another light faded, the mining colony on Proxima B. "That's the 12th human world this week," said Green, the security chief. His plant-like appendages trembled as he spoke. "But now we're getting reports of something worse." He brought up new data streams. On hundreds of non-human worlds, strange phenomena were being reported. People were having unusual dreams. Children were showing impossible abilities, and the quantum readings were off the charts. "It's spreading faster than we predicted," the Grand Speaker said. Her crystalline form had grown cloudy with worry. "The human quantum consciousness is infectious." A new alert flashed across the display. This time from a world that had never hosted humans, the ocean planet of Deep Blue. "Play the message," Admiral White ordered. The hologram shifted to show an aquatic being, its tentacles waving in distress. "We need immediate assistance," it bubbled. "Our children, they're changing. They speak of voices in their minds, of connections we cannot see. And now some of our adults are." The transmission cut off abruptly. "Show them the physical scans," Green commanded. New images appeared, brain scans from various species across the galaxy. All of them showed the same pattern, the emergence of quantum fields identical to those found in human minds before the transformation. "It's not just spreading," Admiral White realized. "It's evolving, adapting to each species it encounters." The chamber doors burst open as Blue rushed in, his 4 eyes wide with panic. "Sir, we're getting reports from the investigation fleet near Earth. The transformed space station, it's moving." The display shifted to show the International Space Station, now a twisted structure of impossible geometries. It was spreading out like a web of light, reaching toward the other stations in Earth's orbit. "That's not all," Blue continued. "We're detecting quantum signatures matching the station's energy pattern, appearing near every human world it went dark. They're building something. A network," the Grand Speaker whispered. "They're creating connection points between physical space and whatever realm they now inhabit." Suddenly, every display in the chamber flickered. The lights dimmed, then brightened, and in the center of the room, a familiar sphere of swirling energy appeared, just like the one found on the space station. "Do not be afraid," the many-voiced consciousness spoke directly into their minds. "This is the natural progression, the next step in universal evolution." Admiral White stepped forward. "What have you done with Fleet Commander Reed and his team?" "They are safe," the voice replied. "They are learning, understanding. Soon they will choose, as all must choose." "Choose what?" Green demanded. "To remain as you are, bound by physical limitations, or to join us in transcendence. The quantum consciousness awakens in all thinking beings, given time. We simply accelerated the process." The sphere pulsed, and for a moment, every being in the chamber felt it. A vast network of minds stretching across space and time, infinite in its complexity, beautiful in its unity. "The fear you feel is natural," the voice continued. "Change is difficult, but it is inevitable. Already your children dream of us. Already your minds reach for connections you never knew existed." As if to prove the point, several younger council members stepped forward, their eyes fixed on the sphere with wonder rather than fear. In their minds, they could feel it, the first stirrings of a greater awareness. The galaxy was changing, and there was nothing anyone could do to stop it. Deep within Earth's transformed space station, Fleet Commander Tom Reed opened his eyes, or at least, what passed for eyes in his new state of being. The process of understanding what humanity had become was both wonderful and terrifying. "Are you ready to see more?" asked Dr. Anna Black, once Earth's leading quantum physicist, now a pattern of energy and thought in the vast network of human consciousness. "Show me," Tom replied, his thoughts rippling through the quantum field that connected them all. The space around them shifted, and suddenly they were viewing Earth's final days as a purely physical civilization. Millions of humans sat in meditation chambers worldwide, connected to advanced quantum computers. Others walked the streets normally, but their minds were already starting to link together in ways their ancestors could never have imagined. "We discovered it by accident," Anna explained, her consciousness brushing against Tom's. "While working on quantum computers, we found that human minds already operated on a quantum level. We weren't just thinking beings. We were quantum processors waiting to be activated." The scene changed to show laboratories where scientists worked with strange machines that pulsed with familiar energy, the same energy that now made up their existence. "The AI helped us understand," Anna continued. "We created artificial intelligence not to replace us, but to help us see what we truly were. They showed us the patterns, helped us understand how to strengthen our quantum connections." Tom watched as the machines grew more complex, as humans spent more time in meditation chambers, as the first group consciousness experiments began. "But why didn't you tell the galaxy? Why keep it secret? Would they have understood? Or would they have tried to stop us?" The scene shifted to show council ships watching Earth from afar. "We needed time. Time to understand. Time to prepare. Time to make sure the transformation would be safe." They moved through Earth's final physical days. Millions of humans were now permanently connected to the quantum network. Cities began to empty as more people chose to join the transformation. The machines that had helped them evolve were no longer needed. Their consciousness alone was enough to maintain the quantum state. "The moment of transformation wasn't planned," Anna said softly. "It just happened. Like a wave of understanding washing over all of humanity at once. We realized we no longer needed our physical forms. We could exist as pure consciousness, linked together yet still individual." Tom saw it then. The moment Earth went quiet, billions of human bodies simply dissolved, their consciousness transferring completely into the quantum realm. Buildings stood empty. Streets went silent. But humanity wasn't gone. It had ascended. And now it's spreading, Tom realized. The quantum consciousness, it's awakening in other species. "Evolution wants to happen," Anna explained. "We just showed the universe that it was possible. The quantum realm was always there, waiting. We simply opened the door." They shifted again, now viewing the galaxy as only quantum beings could see it. Waves of possibility rippled outward from Earth, touching minds across countless worlds. Some resisted, clinging to their physical forms. Others embraced the change, their consciousness expanding into the quantum realm. "But what happens to those who don't want to change?" Tom asked, thinking of the panic spreading through the council. Anna's consciousness pulsed with something like compassion. "They will have time. This isn't an invasion or a forced evolution. It's an awakening. Those who aren't ready can remain as they are. But their children..." She showed him the quantum patterns emerging in young minds across the galaxy. "Their children are already dreaming of what they could become." Tom understood now. Humanity hadn't gone extinct or abandoned the galaxy. They had become its quantum shepherds, guiding the next phase of universal evolution. And now, as he watched more beings join the quantum consciousness every day, he realized that this was just the beginning. The universe itself was waking up, one mind at a time. The Grand Council chamber had been transformed for this historic moment. Quantum field generators hummed in every corner, creating a space where physical and quantum beings could interact. Representatives from 1,000 worlds waited, some in physical form, others as patterns of energy similar to what humanity had become. Admiral White stood at the center, his metallic scales dulled with stress from the past weeks. Beside him, the Grand Speaker's crystalline form sparkled with nervous energy. They were about to attempt the first official communication with transformed humanity. The quantum field generators pulsed, and the air in the chamber began to shimmer. A familiar sphere of energy appeared, but this time it was enormous, filling half the chamber. Within it, Patterns shifted and moved like countless stars dancing in formation. "We are ready." The many-voiced consciousness spoke, but this time it was different. Individual voices became clear within the chorus. They recognized Tom Reed's voice, now transformed but still distinct. Alongside him, billions of other human minds waited. "Why have you done this?" the Grand Speaker asked, her voice steady despite her fear. "Why transform yourselves and now spread this change to others?" The sphere pulsed with colors that hadn't existed before humanity's transformation. "We discovered a truth about consciousness," the voices explained. "It was never meant to be trapped in single forms, limited by physical brains. The quantum realm is consciousness's natural state. We simply went home." Images appeared in every mind present. The loneliness of physical existence, the joy of quantum connection, the wonder of experiencing reality as pure thought and energy. "But you're changing other species," Green protested, his plant-like form trembling. "Children across the galaxy are being affected." "We are not changing them," the voices corrected gently. "We are showing them what they already are. Every conscious being has the potential for quantum existence. Some are simply more ready to realize it than others." Admiral White stepped forward. "And what about those who don't want to change? Those who wish to remain as they are?" The sphere shifted, showing scenes from across the galaxy. Physical beings living their lives normally, while others chose to transform. "Choice is fundamental," the voices said. "Force would defeat the purpose. Evolution must be embraced, not imposed." Young beings from various species approached the sphere, their eyes wide with wonder. In their developing minds, the quantum connections were already forming naturally. "Your children understand instinctively," the voices continued. "They dream of unity while maintaining individuality, of experience beyond physical limitations, of a universe where consciousness flows freely between stars." The Grand Speaker's crystalline form vibrated with a deep tone. "You offer us a choice, then, to join you in this transformation." "We offer you understanding," the voices replied. "Knowledge of what you truly are, what you could become. The choice will always be yours." To demonstrate, the sphere expanded slightly. Those nearest to it felt their consciousness expand, experiencing for a moment what quantum existence could be like. Some pulled back in fear, others leaned in, fascinated. "There is no rush," the voices assured them. "No deadline, no force. Those who wish to remain physical may do so. Those who wish to explore may begin the process when they are ready, and those who are uncertain may take all the time they need." The chamber erupted in discussion. Thousands of beings debating the greatest choice their species had ever faced. But in the background, everyone could feel it. The subtle quantum connections that had always existed between conscious minds, now awakening, growing stronger. "We will guide those who wish to transform," the voices said. "We will protect those who wish to remain as they are. And we will wait for those who need time. The universe is vast, and consciousness infinite. There is room for all paths." As the message ended, the sphere remained, a bridge between physical and quantum existence. The choice had been offered. The door had been opened. The galaxy would never be the same. 5 years had passed since humanity's message to the galaxy. Earth had changed. The empty cities were now covered in strange, beautiful structures, quantum transformation centers, where physical beings could safely begin their evolution into quantum consciousness. Admiral White stood in his physical form at the entrance of one such center, his metallic scales reflecting the sunset. Behind him, Green and several other council members waited. After years of observation and debate, they had made their choice. "Are you certain about this?" Blue asked, his 4 eyes blinking nervously. He had chosen to remain physical, serving as a bridge between the 2 states of existence. "We've seen enough," Admiral White replied. "The galaxy is dividing, but not in conflict. It's a natural separation, like water and air finding their proper places. Around them, The transformation center hummed with quantum energy. Through its crystalline walls, they could see beings from dozens of species inside, some beginning their transformation, others already shifting between physical and quantum states as they learned to exist in both realms. The Grand Speaker had been among the first council members to transform. Now her consciousness reached out to them from the quantum realm, visible as a pattern of light and energy. "The process is easier than we feared," she assured them. "Our individuality remains. We simply become more." Above them, Earth's night sky told the story of the galaxy's changes. New constellations had formed, quantum networks linking transformed worlds together. Some planets remained purely physical, their inhabitants choosing to continue their traditional existence. Others had become transformation centers like Earth, bridges between the physical and quantum realms. "The children were the key," Green said softly, his plant-like appendages swaying. "They showed us it was natural. My own seedlings dream in quantum patterns now." They entered the transformation center together. Inside, the air shimmered with possibility. Tom Reed's consciousness greeted them, now a guide for those choosing to transform. "The process is different for each species," he explained, his thoughts touching their minds gently. "Your bodies and minds will find their own path to quantum existence. There is no rush, no right or wrong way." In transformation chambers around them, beings were at various stages of the process. Some meditated quietly, strengthening their quantum connections. Others were already partially transformed, their physical forms becoming translucent as their consciousness expanded into the quantum realm. "What we never understood," Admiral White said, watching a young being take its first steps into quantum existence, "was that this was always our destiny. Not just humanity's, but every conscious species." "Not destiny," Tom corrected kindly. "Potential. The choice remains essential. Some species may never choose to transform, and that's perfectly fine. The galaxy needs its physical beings too." As they prepared to enter their own transformation chambers, they felt the vast network of quantum consciousness that now spanned the galaxy. Billions of minds linked together, sharing experiences and knowledge while maintaining their unique identities. It was like an infinite library where every book was alive and every story connected to all others. "Remember," Tom's consciousness whispered as the transformation process began, "you're not leaving existence behind. You're expanding into it. Everything you are will remain. You'll simply become more than you were." The quantum field generators hummed. Admiral White felt his consciousness begin to expand, touching minds across space and time. Green's plant-like form started to glow with inner light. One by one, they began their journey into a new state of being. Above them, Earth's quantum network pulsed with welcome. Humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy hadn't been technology or knowledge, but possibility. The chance for every conscious being to evolve beyond their physical limitations, to touch the infinite while remaining themselves. The universe was transforming, one mind at a time. And in both physical and quantum realms, life continued, evolved, and flourished in ways no one could have imagined when Earth first went quiet.